If you're watching on video, look at the intensity in my eyes. I feel so angry, and I'm doing so much work to not yell. I'm trying to not yell because I know it'll mess up the microphone, but boy, do I want to yell, Darren. Welcome to Happy Foot, Sad Foot, the only LAFC podcast sponsored by that same sperm bank that sponsors the Galaxy. I'm Travis Helwig.
And I'm Darren Miller. Welcome to our preview of this week's game against Nashville SC, which takes place this Saturday at 5:30 p.m. in Nashville. You can watch it on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV+. And as always, we'll be live streaming 10 minutes after the game with our post-game call-in show on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@HappyFootSadFoot. Subscribe there now, and you can get notified when we go live.
Later in the show, we'll be joined by Tim Sullivan, co-host of Nashville SC podcast Club and Country, which I genuinely think is a very good name for a podcast from a soccer team in Nashville. He'll tell us all about the team and how they're treating our beautiful son, Walker Zimmerman. And as always, we'll talk storylines for this week's game, and we'll make some bets. But first, you demand it. We don't want to do it. It's time for the moment I dread every week. Listener-mandated banter. Darren, how are we going to suffer through the banter today?
Oh, no. Oh, God. I don't know what we're going to do here. It's the NBA playoffs, and that's not relevant. Let's see. Let's try something else.
I could talk for a long time about how furious I am at the New York Knicks right now. We're recording this on Tuesday night. I'm full of a lot of rage. You could tell it's coming out of me. The New York Knicks just lost by over 20 points, and I'm going to explode. Can you feel it coming out of my body? If you're watching on video, look at the intensity in my eyes. I feel so angry, and I'm doing so much work to not yell. I'm trying to not yell because I know it'll mess up the microphone, but boy, do I want to yell, Darren.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. The
Celtics won, your beloved fucking Celtics.
Oh no, let's not talk about it. I actually missed the game. I was working. What else is happening in the world?
You know how I had that cold? Everyone's been asking about my cold. People won't stop talking about my cold.
Oh my God. If I hear another person come up to me on the street and be like, what's going on with Travis's cold? I'm going to lose it.
I've had 400 listeners send me soup. I'm drowning in soup.
That's right. We are part of the classic podcast culture of people sending us food randomly.
Mark Maron, he would get baked goods at his live show. Here at Happy Foot, Sad Foot, people send us soup. Every week, someone's sending one of us some soup.
They say, "Are you okay?" It doesn't sound like it.
Hey, I don't know if you're on antidepressants, but you should get on that.
I know that you're on antidepressants. You've talked about it on the podcast.
Welcome to Happy Foot, Sad Foot, the only podcast that actively talks about mental health issues. That's enough banter. I feel like we found a
Happy Foot, Sad Foot drug that targets both ADHD and depression.
I feel like
at the same time.
I feel like there's a lot of people
claim to do both.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people in LA would be like, just do mushrooms, my man. And it's like
why don't you just do mushrooms and get these crystals?
All you have to do is do mushrooms for any sickness, and you'll be fine. That's why Steve Jobs died, because he was like, if I just drink the right juice, I won't die of cancer.
I've been getting a ton of like magic mushroom adjacent, fully legal magic-ish mushroom like coffee alternative drinks and stuff.
Yeah, that's some real Joe Rogan shit, which enemy of the foot, Joe Rogan. Let's start the show.
Into it. All right, if you're like me, life isn't always easy. It comes with hardships and responsibilities, and it never feels like you have enough time in the day to do everything you need to do. I'm not special. That's true of most hardworking folks out there. Things don't always work out the way we want, but we make do. We have to make do for the sake of our children. However, there's some people out there that have it easy. Everything seems to fall in their lap. They drive a nice car, they go on nice vacations, they spend all day long reading about LAFC. That's the kind of life Travis lives. And because I'm busy, every week, between his meals at the Chateau Marmont, Travis tells me what I need to know for this upcoming match in a segment we call Storylines.
I feel like that song, I'm going to like hear it in the dark one night and then I'm going to be murdered. It's just,
I feel like I'm going to
it's,
hear it in the dark one night and I'm going to have a lovely dream.
yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is
I
like
discover something new every time.
you're like floating through the ocean of music. Thanks, AI. We love you, AI. Darren, I'm so sorry about your job at the coal mine. It seems really hard. Darren, we've reached
Listen,
week 9, and boy, are my arms tired from holding up my scarf during that whole intro song. It's a long time, and we're supposed to keep it up there, and I never remember to stretch before the game. Speaking of
yeah, that's
stretching,
tough. I got bad shoulders.
yeah, it's really like my pecs are tight, and it's hard to hold it up for that long. Someone's got to
Got
do
a
something
slap
about that
tear.
song.
I mean, come on.
Speaking of slap tears, storyline 1. This is the first time in a very long time we're playing a game of soccer on a full week's rest. And boy, does it seem like we need it, Darren. We're coming off an exhaustingly difficult Trafico. I don't know if you remembered it. We beat the Galaxy last week and we needed every single inch of energy. Inch of energy? Is that how energy is measured? I
Sure.
didn't
Yeah.
reread this
Go with
before I
it.
read it. To finally win in Carson. So this break of what most teams get every week couldn't come soon enough because the truth is we've started to see some wear and tear out there. Tillman, our new midfield star, was held off the roster last week because of a leg injury he got in training. Chiellini was a late minute scratch, another leg injury. We don't really know why. I'm beginning to think LAFC needs a new leg guy, Darren.
Chiellini might have been injured just because, like, his legs are just so long. There's a capacity issue there where it's
Mhm.
like we don't know. We don't want to be in uncharted territory with legs this long. You know,
If we had a different leg guy, I feel like Max would be okay right now. You know?
there are a lot of it is a lot of leg injuries on one team. I mean the leg whoever's in charge of legs on the
Yeah.
medical staff is definitely like, yikes, this isn't looking good for
Yeah.
my bonus this
Somebody's
year.
knocking on the door of the leg guy being like, "Hey, what's going on
Yeah,
here?"
what's the deal here, man?
Outside of legs, the truth is Carlos Vela also looks fucking tired. I think the games are starting to catch out to him. Sure, he scored twice against the Galaxy, but his running does look a little sluggish, and his decision making has also seemed like it's lacking a little bit. I saw he's in Coachella right now, which is like, you go to Coachella on the weekends, dude. What are you doing there in the middle
Is
of
he
the
really
week?
there?
Yeah, well, he posted from there. Unless he like,
Oh my
and the
god.
game was Sunday, so unless he went to Coachella Friday or Saturday last week, he's just in the Coachella Valley in the middle of the week. But like, now's just the most expensive time to be there.
Oh, I mean, if he's there, he's there. That's it.
If he doesn't play in Nashville, we know why.
Damn.
Look, I know we're undefeated. I know, and I know he scored a brace, but he does look a little old out there, right? Like he just looks a little.
I have said before that I have full faith in him and I trust him. I just feel like he's getting so much better at picking his spots. He's doing what Chiellini has mastered. Maybe he's been talking to him more. I feel like Chiellini, as he has aged, to me, his genius is in knowing when he doesn't have to exert 100% energy and can just turn it on when he needs to and hang back when he knows he can. And
It's
as
hard because
players
we
get
do,
older, I mean,
but like we do
yeah, you
this
don't want to
high
go full Gareth
press.
Bale where it's like, why don't you just keep me on the bench the whole season?
Yeah.
I know when you need me, it's this one moment at the end of the championship. And otherwise, I'm going to fully hang back.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny to complain about the guy who's the only reason we won El Trafico a few days after El Trafico. Like he got an assist and 2 goals, and I'm like, he looks bad out there.
What's going on with Vela?
It'll be good to have an LAFC team rested up because this is the only full week we're going to have off in a while. So the boys head to Nashville. The boys head to Nashville this week before a long string of games. And that brings us to storyline number 2, which is that Nashville SC is kind of mid. Mid is a phrase I've never used before. Like
Ooh, what do
normally,
we
I've
think?
never used it earnestly and it felt really gross in my mouth. Darren, did I seem
Yeah,
cool when I said mid?
this is exactly the experience I know I would have if I tried it. At least you had the courage to. That's more
Mid.
than I
Well,
could
I'm
ever
like,
say.
they're average, but they're above average. Like they're just like so. Okay, Nashville isn't bad. They're 6th in the East. They have 11 points on 3 wins, 3 losses, and 2 draws. They also have Hani Mukhtar, the reigning MVP and Golden Boot winner, which means he scored the most goals last season, more than any other player, including our beloved Chicho Arango. Nashville is a fun team. He because of his legs, something went wrong with his legs, and he died.
Okay, now there's something very fishy about the leg guy.
Nashville's a fun team in a fun stadium in a fun city, but they seem to rely on Mukhtar to do everything. And when he's not doing that, things seem to unravel. Darren, have you ever been to Nashville?
I've never been to Nashville. I've always wanted to go.
Great place. Reese Witherspoon lives there.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Her whole thing, she's like all about Nashville.
I've seen a couple episodes of the TV show Nashville, so I imagine it's very accurate, right?
You know, it's mainly bachelorette parties and like country singers that are fine. Like you go to a bar and it's full of women screaming and also a country singer doing like a pretty good job, but not that good of a job.
The couple episodes I saw of probably the first season of the TV show makes it seem like Nashville is like, I almost want to say it was kind of like Entourage, but it's like, this is like the Hollywood of country music.
It is. I mean, it is cool. Like the Grand Ole Opry is there. We did, when I worked at Pod Save America, we did a show, or was it Love It or Leave It? I don't remember, but we did a show at the Ryman Auditorium, which is like where fucking Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard used to play. It was the old Grand Ole Opry. And it was so cool to be there. But it also was like, it's just funny to go to a place that it's kind of like LA where it's like, it's known for one thing. And like, a large percentage of people work in that one thing. So it's just funny to like go into a new culture in that way. To LAFC fans though, reigning MVP Hani Mukhtar is not the most important player on Nashville Soccer Club. No. The most important player is our beloved star defender, the Nashville captain, Walker Zimmerman. Walker, of course, was beloved on the inaugural team. He was the very first player to do that LAFC punch chant after the game where he like punches the crowd. He was so fun. He seemed to truly love being in Los Angeles. And unlike some players who left, I really think everyone loves and misses Walker Zimmerman. He was our backbone on defense. He's definitely, outside of Chiellini. Chiellini's not in his prime, but Walker was probably our best defender we've ever had. And I would go so far as to say he's better than anyone on our defense on the moment as well. U.S. men's national team player. I miss him. I love him. I feel like I'd get along with him.
Yeah, friend of the foot for sure.
Friend of the foot. You know what? I texted him to see if he would come on. He didn't respond. It was weird.
He doesn't respond to me either.
Yeah. I'm just texting random numbers after a Nashville area code, but I think it's him. So
my approach is I'm texting every Walker Zimmerman I can find in every city's phone book.
Are there many? Walker's not a
Walker
common.
Zimmerman, it's a fairly common name. Yeah, more common in the South, I'd say. But yeah, it's working out. It's going well.
Nashville is fine as a team. And that sort of brings us to the last and most important storyline of the game, which is this. I kind of don't care about this game. Here's why. I'm like been dancing around it. I wrote a lot of stuff before it. But the truth is, I just don't really care about this game.
I was like, don't say it's a trap game. Don't say it's a trap game. Don't say it's a trap game.
No, maybe. Who gives a shit? We're undefeated. We're coming off our very first win against Carson at home. It was full of so much passion and drama. I'm kind of exhausted, man. And on top of that, we're staring down a midweek game next week against Philadelphia Union in the Champions League, which we're caring about more than the regular season right now. Philadelphia Union, a rematch of our MLS Cup game, which was by almost all accounts the best Major League Soccer game ever played. You know, between the two Union games, there's also a game against San Jose. In San Jose, we always bring a huge crowd. They're having it in Levi Stadium, the 49ers stadium. That's going to be a huge fucking game. So we have those three games immediately following this Nashville game. You can't make me care about it. We're going to lose eventually. Make it this one. I really don't care if we lose it. We're like, fine. We know at some point the undefeated streak is going to come to an end. Nashville's not bad. If we lost in Nashville, I don't want to lose, but it really, to me, feels like, I don't know, a really low stakes game to me. An Eastern Conference mid-table team. Like, am I a lazy fan for feeling that way?
No,
I really don't care.
I really like the idea, the strategy behind being like, what we want to happen is to be able to decide when the losses come. You know what I mean?
It's,
Like,
I mean,
it's like, let's be real. Like, sure, yes, it would be amazing if they went undefeated the entire season and won the Supporter Shield and won the Cup and won every tournament. Yes, that is what we're rooting for sure. We're not going to root against that possibility. But
yeah.
in a world where some of those things don't happen, it's fun to target the game, target your losses, both metaphorically and literally.
Like if we
And
were,
this is exactly the kind of podcast where that will happen.
yeah.
Like East Coast fans and for a West Coast team.
It's just sort of like if you put the games ahead of us on the screen in front of me, and you said Philadelphia, San
We're
Jose,
trying to
Philadelphia,
trade for a win.
right? And then we also have a game against a mid-table Eastern Conference team that like we have no history with besides Walker Zimmerman. It's like the only thing I dislike about them is they made those all black jerseys that just make it look like, I hope they don't wear those all black jerseys because then we're going to have to wear the green jerseys and that's automatically a loss, Darren.
We know how we feel about those. Yeah. Yeah, that's a loss for sure. I don't care what the score says. Those games are losses.
Yeah.
The Johnny Cash or maybe, you know what? Maybe if we wear those kits next to the Johnny Cash kits, because those are also terrible.
I don't mind that Johnny Cash kit.
I don't like them. What do you like? It's just you're just referencing a thing that is also true about your city. What is that?
I mean, to be fair, the 3252 has put up like tifos of like, I don't know, Freddie Mercury. It's like, yeah, he used to work in LA.
Freddie Mercury's fucking awesome. What do you?
So is Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash fucking rules.
Yeah, but that's a tifo. It's not like on your jersey. What?
Well, it started as a tifo. It was the whatever. It doesn't matter. All I'm saying
no, you're
is
right.
it's cool
Because
that it has
as soon as I said that, I was like, but if they put Freddie Mercury on our jersey, it would objectively be terrible, and I would fucking love it.
It would be so cool.
I'd be 100% for it.
But again, would mean way less. Like Freddie Mercury really doesn't have a connection to Los Angeles. He just was a musician here. Johnny Cash isn't from Nashville, I don't think, but he's from doesn't matter. Those are our storylines for the game. This game, win, lose, or draw, have a good time down in Nashville, guys. I'm sure it'll be great. Carlos, have a great time at Coachella.
Let's just throw the game. Let's throw the game, guys.
I'm going to bet against us, and I'm going to give half the money to a member of the LAFC team. When we come back, Tim Sullivan from the Nashville podcast, Club and Country. He's a Nashville sports reporter and the host of the Club and Country podcast, all about Nashville Soccer Club. Please welcome to the show, Tim Sullivan. Tim, thank you for being here.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Tim, first, tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, so we are, I guess, kind of the original Nashville Soccer Club podcast. I have been covering the club since long before it was a Major League Soccer team, and my co-host, Wes Bowling, was the original radio voice of the club. And then recently, with the Apple TV deal no longer the case, but
we can take care of Tim Cook for you if you want. We'll go. We're pretty close to him, so we'll go get him for you.
Yeah, Tim Apple, you're on the list, man.
So Nashville are currently ranked 11th on the MLS Power Rankings. They're 6th in the East. They have reigning MVP Hani Mukhtar. He seems to be doing as well as always. You've only let in 4 goals on the season, but I did a little research, and it seems like fans are somewhat frustrated with the club. How are fans feeling right now, 8 weeks into the season?
Yeah, it's always a little weird because fans, if the club had given up, 40 goals but scored 41, they'd be like super ecstatic. But when you give up very few and score very few, the dynamic is a little bit different. So from that perspective, fans are a little bit frustrated, but I think it remains to be seen as the season plays out what exactly the sentiment is going to end up being. But I do think that it's fair to say that fans are not, kind of 100% on board as things stand right now.
Okay, so our podcast is designed to be the kind of thing that you can throw on when you're bringing a friend to the game or a watch party and they don't know anything about the MLS. Okay, so if a casual or new fan is listening right now, can you tell them why is Hani Mukhtar so beloved in Nashville, and who else should they be watching for on your squad?
Yeah, the big thing is that Ani has over the over the 3.5 years of this club been the primary scoring threat and at times the only scoring threat for this club. But I think the big picture is that yes, he is like such an offensive dynamo that the attack kind of runs through him, and often if he's not creating, doesn't do a whole lot. So from that perspective, it's probably less exciting, but from a perspective of who else really matters on this team, it's going to be Walker Zimmerman, who's the U.S. international, who contributes to this team and has been a two-time defensive most valuable player of Major League Soccer.
We miss him over here. Are you treating him
Right.
right? Does he ask about us?
Right, exactly. Yeah, he hardly misses LAFC. He
Fuck.
came to Nashville. He came to Nashville.
No.
He grew out his hair. He grew a beard. He has 1.5 children. Maybe by the time this podcast comes out, he has both children. But yeah,
Oh my God.
he's the other guy. He's the other guy that fans really love, and for obvious reasons. You guys know that as LAFC guys that he was a big part of what made LAFC what it was until he came to Nashville in 2020. And you know, as a U.S. international, there aren't going to be a ton of them with Nashville Soccer Club, to be honest. So
Yeah.
he's been very popular for that perspective as well.
It's funny, like, he was such an important part early on in our club, and it really felt like he loved being here. And then seeing him in Nashville, I'm like, oh, he's just a good guy. He just seems like a really wonderful person.
Yeah, no, it's weird because when he first came to Nashville, it was like there's like a slightly like awkward vibe when he's like trying to feel out his situation in the city, and then like as soon as he got it, he's like, no, I absolutely get it. I'm here. I am just going to be myself. And it's been like, it's fit like a glove for him ever since too.
It seems like there's a great local following for the team as well.
Mhm.
That has been the case for the first few years. Does it feel like it's growing? Is it sort of staying the same? Is it shrinking? What's the place in the city for the team?
It's really weird because for the first couple of years, like obviously the first year of this club's existence happened, for 2 weeks, and then there was something that you guys might have heard about, which was a global pandemic, and then
No, what? Excuse
yeah,
me?
yeah. So
I
it's called
think that
COVID-19.
rings a bell for sure.
Oh, right. I've heard the novel
coronavirus.
coronavirus. I've heard of the novel
Yes.
coronavirus.
Yeah,
We should take a second and explain to our listeners.
Yeah. So it came.
This
from that.
podcast is designed as someone who's driving their friend to the hospital for novel coronavirus.
Yeah. No, but so it kind of stagnated what the club thought it was going to be for a long time, and like not just 2020, but through like probably 2/3 of 2021, it kind of limited what they thought they were going to be in the city. And since then, so last year they opened Geodis Park, their home stadium, which they had been playing in Nissan Stadium, which is the home stadium of the Tennessee Titans. And it was a good stadium, but it wasn't exactly what they thought it was going to be. And it really last year didn't quite work out the way they thought it was going to either. This was kind of a bad home team last year. But this year they have really embraced what the club can bring to the city. And obviously they've only played, 4 home games so far. So it's not something that they've really kind of figured out where they're going to fit in terms of how we play our home park, how we are going to fit into the fabric of the city. They really didn't have the opportunity until, midway through last season.
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate situation of like, we're brand new. It's going to be so exciting. Surprise, we'll only play in Orlando for a year. Like it just really takes the wind out of the sails. I mean, Nashville, the last time I was in Nashville, it was before Nashville Soccer Club was there, but the Predators seemed like very popular. And I was like, oh, this is a great sports town for a new team to come into. So I feel like at some point it'll definitely build itself into the fabric in that way.
Yeah, it's a situation where it's a city that hasn't had major league sports of any variety for a long time. And the Preds it took them a while to fit into it. And I think you'd be foolish to think that Nashville SC isn't going to fit in the same way.
Yeah. Got to say, Predators, bad name for a team. Doesn't make me think of anything but really bad stuff.
So in 2017, which was the year that they were really good in the playoffs, our trivia team name at our bar trivia was Predators. No, the hockey team, not the bad kind. So
That's
it was a
perfect.
very long trivia name for our host to
Yeah,
say.
it's always fun to annoy the host of trivia. I do that a lot myself. So, how do Nashville fans view LAFC, both the team and the fan culture? I know we've taken on a bit of a heel vibe to a lot of the league. So, I'm just curious, how do you even think of us, because we're in different conferences? Like, how do
Yeah.
you view LAFC?
Do you like
Yeah,
us Y/N?
oh, why? Yes, but I think from a team perspective that has come relatively recently into the league, it's kind of an aspirational thing. LAFC, as soon as Bank of California, I'm not going to remember what it's called now.
BMO, baby, BMO.
BMO Field, BMO Stadium.
As
I
long
don't
as it's
know.
a bank, we're happy.
Whichever of those. Please sponsor the pod, BMO. But whichever.
Yeah, that's a
Whichever of
good
the
point.
two.
We got to reach out to these banks.
We've never even considered that. We should totally do that.
Yeah, no, but I
Yeah.
think Nashville fans view like the 32-52 and all that as like kind of an aspirational deal, because it has taken so long for the club to kind of take over the culture of the city. And obviously LA is such a bigger city than Nashville is, but Nashville SC fans kind of feel like if you aren't occupying 60% of the mindset of the city, it's like occupying 6% of the mindset of LA. So fans look at what LAFC has been able to do and say, hey, let's try and do on a 10% scale what they do. And that's something that I think honestly is aspirational too, and it's a club that obviously has had a shitload of success. Sorry, a
You
lot
can
of
curse. It's
success.
okay.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
cool. A shitload of success compared to what Nashville has done so
You
far.
can
So-
talk about sexual predators, but you can't say shit on this podcast.
Well, guess what? I've hit the whole gamut so far.
It seems like it's kind of a short roller coaster just getting to the stadium, and I feel like the stadium is always sort of the heart of where you can finally establish like this is how we tailgate and this is how the supporters section works, and like this is that coming together, or are there things that you can point to that are like this is what it's like to be a fan here?
It's weird because there's like kind of a carryover from the USL days, but because the stadium was 2 years without it, it's been a situation where the tailgate culture and all those sorts of things have kind of come together independently of what the physical facilities have allowed to have happen. So there are a few like big supporters groups: the Roadies, the Assembly, the Eastern Front, the Heaters. These guys have they form a collective called the Backline, but they are independent of each other. The Roadies are kind of the party guys. The Assembly are kind of a similar situation, and then like the Heaters and the other guys are, we're kind of this like intellectual like version of the same thing. So
that's what I like in my sports.
Yeah, no, and I say that with absolutely no judgment, because that's kind of the way that I view the game at times. But it's something that, because there have only been a few home games this year, and last year was such a weird situation just coming into the stadium for the first time. It's a situation where it's still kind of developing. I think the big thing that's really helped it all come together is La Brigada de Oro, which is the kind of the umbrella group for the Spanish language supporters groups, but it's kind of a supporters group itself, which is kind of how the Roadies were as well. But the Latin influence and all of that have helped a lot. Otherwise, it's like kind of aggressively white, to be honest. There's the mixtape, which is the black-led supporters group as well. But these two groups have kind of brought the diversity that this club has been looking for, and it's something that I think going forward is going to be a bigger portion of the game day experience than it has been so far.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you guys feel like you're still building it, but the games I've watched at Geodis look really fun, and it became a stadium that I want to go visit. So you've done a good job in a short period of time. Don't be too hard on yourself. Thank you so much for being here, Tim. Before you go, remind everyone where they could find you.
Yeah, at Club Country USA on all social media, clubcountryusa.com. If you just search the podcast, probably Nashville SC podcast on the podcast provider of your choice, but otherwise Club and Country is the best way to find it.
Great name. Fantastic name for a Nashville podcast.
Yeah, it was a weird kind of inadvertent, but it worked out as quite serendipitous that it came together that way.
Tim, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks
for joining us.
When we come back, Darren and I are going to make some bets.
And we're back. Now it's time for a segment called Bet It and Forget It.
Bet it and forget it.
Bet it and forget it, bet it and forget it. Bet it and forget it, bet it and forget it.
That was good. Let's change the opening to that. That was really good.
Bet it and forget it.
Oh my God. That made me so happy. We're going to have that on the podcast twice this week. Let's do it. I really like Bet It and Forget It. You know, Storylines gets all the credit. It's all the glory.
Unsung hero.
Unsung hero of the podcast. Bet It and Forget It opening. All right. Every week, Travis and I, we're going to end the show with a bet for this week's game. We make an outlandish prediction for that week, something that almost definitely will not happen, but it could. You never know. Each week, we both put up $5. If no one hits, the money rolls over to the next week. And eventually, by the time someone's weird prediction comes true, they might win a good chunk of change. Neither of our bets cashed last week.
What was mine?
There's still a chance.
No, because we said between preview recordings. That was the parameter, and we're here now. My bet was that Chris Klein or Greg Vandy would get fired before our next preview podcast. That ends right now.
We got a few more minutes left in this recording.
Okay,
if it happens, if we get some kind of alert,
I'll check right now.
Okay, we'll check for the official formal.
He's not fired.
Wow. Thank you, news.
What was yours?
He's not fired. Mine was +5 goal differential.
Yeah, didn't happen. There were 5 goals scored.
There were 5 goals scored.
If you combine the two teams, it was a +5 goal differential.
That's true. Against the computer?
Against Earth?
Against the naysayers? No.
So,
okay.
Because neither of our bets cashed leak, that means our pool's up to $20. And I have a prediction this week that I'm very confident in.
Are you confident?
I know it's going to hit.
Okay.
And so it was going to initially be Walker Zimmerman own goal. And I was like, that doesn't seem outlandish enough. Own goals happen.
That makes me sad.
No, because maybe he's a sleeper agent. I like thinking about the people we like always being on our side. So
the only real sleeper agent is Blessing in New England.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Blessing.
So my prediction this week is that some player on either team will have 2 own goals. It'll be the same player on one of the teams, and they'll have 2 own goals. I don't know which team it'll be. I don't know which player it'll be, but they will have 2 own goals this week.
That's insane. Travis, you've outdone yourself.
I want that $20. I'm very confident. Darren, what's your prediction?
I had another two-based bet, a bet on a pair, if you will. But now I think I might have to up it. So my bet was that there will be 2 red cards. And I think to match the 2 own goals, it needs to be 3 red cards.
Okay. All right. It's going to really suck for you when there's 2 red cards.
when there's 1 own goal and 2 red cards.
1 Walker Zimmerman own goal and 2 red cards.
It's going to suck for both of us.
We shall see. That's our show. Darren, take us away.
Just a reminder, we'll be live streaming the post-game show 10 minutes after both games.
Nope, we did it again. We didn't change it.
Our notes never change, and they never will now. Now it's a bit, so it has to stay. And we'll see how I do.
New listeners are going to be like, there's 2 games?
Each week, Travis and I like to end the show with me fucking up the same line every episode.
Let's see if you could do it on one try without me rewriting it.
Okay, bet it and forget it. Just a reminder, we'll be live streaming the post-game show. Outro. Okay. Just a reminder, we'll be live streaming a post-game show 10 minutes after the game on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@happyfootsadfoot. There's a link in the show notes. Talk to us in the chat. If you want to call in to talk, we'll post a link to join us in the remote studio. You can be on the show. Last time we had a lot of people on the show. Let's set a record every time. That was so fun.
It was so fun. I want to thank Tim Sullivan from Club and Country for joining us this week. Our theme music is done by the insane team of James Valentine, Nate Walcott, and Louis Palmer. Along with YouTube, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram and other stuff that's in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this, please subscribe and review this podcast 5 stars. I know some of you haven't done the review yet, and because the numbers don't match between listeners and reviews, so it would mean a lot to us if you reviewed it 5 stars. I'm getting back into that intensity that I had about the Knicks, and it makes me seem like an insane person.
It would mean a lot to us in a threatening manner if you would just please support the podcast. Please. I would hate for something to happen to you
or your
loved ones. Yeah, we now know a guy who can fuck with your legs. if we can get a connection to LFC's leg guy.
And please also share the podcast with your friends or the YouTube. It means a lot. We're doing this entirely on our own dime. So literally all that stuff where you tell your friends and you review us. And even when you just tweeted us to let us know what you like and what you didn't like, really, really means a lot. Helps us keep going with this. Yeah, that's our show.
We'll see you in Nashville?
The live stream, baby.
We'll see you on the live stream. We'll see you on the live stream.
I love you.
I love you. Bye.
I love you. Bye. See you on the live stream.
Okay, see
BMO.
you virtually. Let's set up a
Geodis
Zoom
Park.
meeting. Who's Geodis?
Geodis. It sounds like a rectal disease.
Talk to your doctor about Geodis.
Oh yeah, no, it's a pill for a rectal disease. I love you. Pressing stop now.